to welcome them here today, wherever they might be. The gentleman from Suffolk, Mr. Jones.
Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, we're getting to that part of the program, it appears. Next Sunday week, we will be bringing to the ninth floor the House's amendments to the governor's introduced budget, House Bill 1400. I wanted to spend a little time today to let you know where we are and what has transpired. Today begins our third week of session, I believe. And as you know, last week we had each of you was invited to the ninth floor to participate in a small group. We had 6 small group meetings last week, and I had a lot of great feedback from members. Fees were problematic for some. The Governor's Opportunity Fund for both some Republicans and Democrats was problematic. The amount that might have been increased. And so it was very instructive to the members of the committee, to the conference committee, and to me as chairman. As I think I've noted before on the floor, about 3 weeks ago, I guess now, I had sat down first before the session even began with Senators Stosh and Colgan and the Senate Finance Director, with the House Appropriations Director, and we have been working collaboratively to try to work out some of the issues in advance of our budgets coming out next Sunday. So that being said, I thought I'd give you just a little maybe snapshot of where I think we are today and where we will be on the 8th. Staff has been scrubbing the numbers. We have been looking at the revenue forecast, the literary fund forecast, spending proposal, etc. And as I have mentioned, the governor presented his budget with the amendments that had revenue generation either through fees and savings, had his spending priorities, and then he proposes and we get to dispose. So we're in that process now, that part of the program, as I'd like to say. So what you will see is that year to date, we have always operated on cash in the bank. But before I talk about cash in the bank, I want to go back 7 months to where we were back in the summer and what was required of us per the Constitution. Funny thing happened on the way to last March. We ended up in June getting a budget on my birthday, if I do recall. And we noticed when we got to that point in time that there was still something probably left to be done with regards to revenue. So once the dollars were in, the comptroller was required to issue a reforecast of our revenues. JABE, which is a joint accounting board of economists, met, and then GACR, the Governor's Advisory Council on Revenue Estimates. That is typically not done until November, but we got together in August. And the reason the timing is important sets up what I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. At that time, when we looked at the close of the books for last fiscal year, we had grown 2.3% in our withholding growth. That is the dollars that are collected when we get our paycheck, or if we have employees that we write each and every week. A year before, we had done 2.1% growth and 2.3% growth. What was forecast for this year was 3.3. Now, the minds in the room felt that growing by 50% almost from 2.3 to 3.3 might have been a bridge too far. So I think appropriately, GACR took down the forecast to 2.8. And the governor and all the members of GACR thought that made sense, so we did that. My philosophy has always been it's easier to look to, if you have additional revenue, to deal with that instead of having to make additional cuts. So that was done. No one could foretell that we would have gas prices drop as they have, which has been a good thing for the consumer. So fast forward to today. We had a very good December. We had one extra deposit day, and we've had a good January. What we did back in July, we said we've got to figure out what has been occurring on the non-withholding, so we set that aside, and we actually constricted that so we will not have, hopefully, the fluctuations up and down. And that was the bulk, if you do recall, of our shortfall. About $400 million of that came from non-withholding, and that reverberates, forward. So with that being said, as it sits today, we feel like we will be able to go back to the 3.3% on the withholding, which is a very steady, predictable source of income, about 60% of our budget, as a matter of fact, revenues. And so what you're going to see, you might have read in the paper today, we're going to be with those dollars, which we will make contingent appropriations, meaning that if in fact the rest of the year does not go as this first 8 months of the year, 6 months of the year has gone, then we would not be obligated beyond June the 30th. You will see a modest increase in the revenue forecast. We're going to eliminate fees. We're going to protect our AAA bond rating by paying cash for capital projects. And we're going to protect tax incentives that work for families and businesses and provide pay raises for our state police, state employees, teachers, and state-supported employees. There were several fees that we heard in the small group meetings that were onerous in the minds of many that were in the introduced budget. The restaurant inspection fee, the weights and measure fee, saltwater license fee, and the increase in the underground storage deductible, which was going to go from $500 to, I think, $2,500 or maybe $3,000. I think many of you probably have received, quote-unquote, contacts from your constituents back home on that. We will protect the coal employment tax credit. There will be no further cuts to K-12. There will be no further cuts to higher education. We will actually look to pay for in-state seats, which has been a priority of this chamber for many years. You will see us put any of the revenue that is adjusted for 15. Half of that revenue will go to the rainy day fund as prescribed, which is the prudent thing to do. And you will see us pay cash for some capital projects instead of using bonding. What we look to do for our hardworking state employees is a 1% across the board pay raise. We will then, for those employees who have been here for 5 to 30 years, we will actually do like what we did several years ago. We will do a compression adjustment, which will be a dollar amount per year of service times your number of years service that will be added to your adjusted pay of 1%. And state police will get a higher delta, which is what we did several years ago. We will take for the classified state employees, they will get the 1% and the compression as well. Our state-supported local employees will receive between a 1% and 2% across the board raise. And for our teachers, you'll see between a 1% and 2% raise for our teachers. The total of this compensation package is equivalent to the adjustment in the withholding revenues that have been collected to date. Corporate is up. Sales tax, we still have to see when the month closes. That's a little more unpredictable and also is a non-withholding. So this would be a very conservative and prudent approach to our budget. And we will build on our successes last year, the $54 million that we invested in mental health, as I mentioned last week. You will see us come forth with I think will be a plan that I think many can embrace and see that it's very thoughtful in how we deal with those who have serious mental illness. And you will see us make sure that we do not overextend by making sure we have the contingent appropriations, the structural balance that we've always discussed, and the rainy day fund deposit that would be required. So I'll be glad as we go over the next week and a half to bring you, to give you further updates. I would like to comment that this has been a very unique year from what I'm told by those who have been around here for a long time. I was told by a senior member from the other body that never recalled the chairman of the money committees getting together prior to session even beginning. And we have met 5 or 6 times as recently as yesterday for about an hour. So I think the Commonwealth benefits when we work together in that regard. So I thank you for your attention. If you have any questions about what I've discussed or mentioned on the floor, my door is always open. Please come by to see me. Thank you so much.